Hey, you guys, welcome again to another video. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in. I came across this video today. It's on Twitter, and this is an interview with a gentleman by the name of Erik Prince. He's as you see on the screen, he's a former U.S. Navy SEAL officer, but what he's really known for is being a founder of Blackwater. Now, that's like a private military company that was in the news a lot, especially during the Trump era. But it comes up they still come up every now and then, but there's a lot more history behind Blackwater that we're going to talk about in a moment. But first, The Intercept, which is a news site, they recently did an interview with Erik Prince, and the topic of how America should treat Africa came up, and its clip is quite revealing, but it shouldn't be surprising. But I tell you what, for a lot of us, that what will be surprising are the responses from some Africans on what he said. So we're going to look at all of that, and then we're going to look a little bit even deeper, with Erik Prince's background and the people that always keeps showing up in the shadows. Okay, so let's go ahead and play this clip.
Then it's time for us to just put the imperial hat back on, to say, we're going to govern those countries if you're incapable of governing yourselves, because enough is enough. We're done being invaded.
Because our own national security risk is at stake.
Exactly.
National security interests are at stake.
You can say that about pretty much all of Africa. They're incapable of governing themselves and benefiting their citizens, because the governments there are all about looting and pillaging and lining their pockets and going shopping in Paris instead of actually making their country a better.
People on the
land.
left are going to watch this. They're going to say, wait a minute, Erik Prince is talking about being a colonialist again.
Absolutely. Yes. Then it's time for us to just.
Okay, so you heard the little clip there, and he's very straightforward. And if you go to The Intercept, I believe here on YouTube, you'll be able to hear the interview in its entirety. Just on that clip right there, I mean, he's pretty straightforward. There's really nothing more. There are some things you can say, you know what, you got to hear the whole context of it. I mean, I don't think you need a whole context on this. I mean, the context is already built in. He's being very clear that, hey, listen, as America, we are the nanny of the world. At least this is what he thinks. And we are the moral nanny of the world. And so we're going to need to go in and tell Africa, listen, if y'all can't get your act together, you can't get rid of these corrupt governments, then we, as the moral compass of the universe, we need to come in, and we need to bring some correction, and we need to bring in colonialism all over again. I mean, he's being very clear with this. Now, again, you can hear some of the snarkery in my tone here, with America, seeing itself as the moral compass of the world, which it isn't. And anybody that's listening to this, all it takes is just a few clicks of that, and you can see that for yourself, that, no, a lot of the stuff that he's talking about in terms of the corruption throughout the continent of Africa, it's not necessarily homegrown. In fact, it's fueled by Western powers, especially the United States, because they look for these little, left versus right kind of conflicts throughout the continent. And what they do is they play both sides against each other, and they, sit back and profit, while people like this individual here can sit down in a nice comfy room and talk about how bad Africa is at what they're doing. Now, is it true that Africa does have as a continent, has had a long-standing problem with corrupt governments? Absolutely, and absolutely right. And is it also true that many of the people the citizens play an active part in keeping these people in power? That's true too, and it's an unfortunate truth, but it is true. But it's also true that, as I just mentioned, that you have other interests outside of Africa that is fueling these things. And, unfortunately, colonialism is still alive and well. And, you know, and as you can see, we're going to go through some of these comments here from some of these people. You know, some of these people are Africans themselves, and it's going to be quite revealing, you know, just to see just the damage that colonialism has done into the minds of people on the continent. And, you know, I know for our brothers and sisters on the continent that are watching this, you know, before you get offended, please understand we talk the same way when we're talking about people in the diaspora, here in the diaspora. There's a lot of butt kissing, if you will, of white people, you know, that our people just have, period. So we're not picking on Africans, but this is just simply the topic of discussion for this video. But let's go ahead and let's see. I'll just, like I said, I'm just going to pull a few of them. Some of them are right on, they get it. Others, you know, whatever. So here we go. We got one person here says no African country is corrupt as the U.S. and the U.K. You're absolutely right. Another one says he just said the truth. Many of you fear listening to. Another person says the U.S. has no right to say a country is corrupt. Right. Let's see, because we're going to read, you know, from both of them, but you're going to start seeing some more that's kind of like, like one right here, Finance 501 says, you'll be surprised how many Africans would choose colonialists over their current leaders. Another one here, it says African countries are very corrupt, but at least we don't drop nukes on the people. And let's keep going on here. Let's see. Here's one here. He says, I am African and I approve this statement, minus the slave thing, though. Well, you can't get colonialism without the slave thing. It all comes packaged. It's all package deal. Here's someone else. When is the recolonization starting, please? Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So anyway, let's see. Another person here, and he says, what he is saying that we don't already know. What's appalling in saying the truth. So I want you to understand the truth of what he's saying is, yes, throughout Africa, there is a strong issue of corrupt leadership. That is true. But also in what he's saying is the solution is colonialism. And only thing that people picked up on is the fact that he's pointing out the obvious, which is the corruption. But he's also packaging it with a solution. So by default, these people are agreeing with everything this man is saying. Here's another one. It says, you'll be surprised how many Africans would choose to be recolonized than to stay under their current leaders. I'm just going through here. Let's see here. Okay, here's another person. I see nothing wrong with what he said, though. How exactly has self-governance improved anything in Nigeria? Some of the works that the colonialists did till today still stand, even if it's constitutional colonialism. Let me read that again. And he's certified too, so he African. Okay. I'll read it again. I see nothing wrong with what he said, though. How exactly has self-governance improved anything in Nigeria? Some of the works that the colonists did till this day still stand, even if it's constitutional colonialism. He's okay with it. Here's someone else that says, what this man is saying, are you people not the ones corrupting African leaders? Okay, let's see. You know, and then you got, like I said, again, it's kind of even-handed, but the fact that you have people on the continent, or at least, you know, first generation or whatever from the continent that are actually agreeing with this man, that's very troubling. That's very troubling. I'm just going through and seeing. Says, I agree with him. He says, did not watch the video. And that's kind of the kind of nonsense I get. People don't even watch the video and they're already diving in the comments. So get out of here. Okay, so let me see here. All right, let's see. He says, someone said Nigeria makes a very strong case for this man. Here's another person says, I can't agree more. Wow. Here's another person says, he didn't lie. Some of us have been saying it too. And then it goes on. I mean, we can spend all, a good amount of time here and just go through some of these comments here. Here's someone else says, no lie detected. Here's someone else says, this is the honest truth. He is correct. He's right. So we can, I mean, this is really sad. It's really sad to where at the end of the day that colonialism has really done its work. It really has done its work in our people. And I will take put a shameless plug in here. Again, if you haven't started watching, if you didn't watch the first installment of our series on, a history of hating ourselves, I would highly encourage you. That first video is like over two hours long. The next one is, I don't think is going to be that long. The ones afterwards, because I had to spend some time laying the foundation on that video. But the other ones, we're just going to be hitting one off, one issue at a time. But what we talked about a great number of things as far as what got us to this point. And not just talking about, well, the white man did it. No, we dove even deeper than that. We talked about what happens when you remove something from its original place and the impact it has, not just from a natural standpoint, but also from a spiritual standpoint. And what we're seeing in our people, both on the continent and abroad, is the lasting effects of that, and so even here in the United States, we have this movement now where our people are demanding, believing that this corrupt government is going to give us a check. But what they don't realize is that nothing, absolutely nothing, and I'll say it again, absolutely nothing comes free. There isn't a such thing as a free handout. It may seem that way, but trust and know that you're going to always have to pay the piper at the end of the day. So even if the United States did give away millions and millions and millions of dollars to the descendants of slaves, make no mistake about it, you will still be under their control. In fact, you will be under their control even more. But I try to make this case to our people, and many of our people just don't want to hear it. Many of our people are almost like as if we are pre-wired to learn the hard way. And, and so it's no different than, so I see that no different than this right here, this particular case where people are actually okay with a recolonization of Africa. And I would argue that, was Africa ever not colonized? I mean, it still is. It's just in blackface. So anyway, let's move on here, because I want to get to this other, just a little bit more about Erik Prince, because now it gets into a part of the conversation where a lot of our people do go tone deaf on, and we don't want to, it's just too much. It's too much reading. It's too much investigation. We kind of tune out on these things. But I cannot emphasize enough. Like the other day, I was listening to someone on TikTok, and this individual, she's very astute, and I mean, she's got one of those NPR type voices. And, when she breaks down things, she's not a dummy. Okay. So, very astute, very smart. But however, when it comes to politics, she has when I talk about a blind spot, it's not even, it's about the blind spot. You can drive several trains through it. Someone raised a question the other day to her, saying, or made a statement that the Republicans and Democrats, there's no difference between the two. they're two wings of the same bird. And she took great offense at that because her case was, no, the Republicans are worse. But what I would say to her was this, because I couldn't put this in a comment because, it's would address much deeper issues and that a few characters ain't going to be able to hold. But what I would say is look for the common threads between the two parties. And the common thread that you'll find between both of these sides of our government is one thing, and that is Israel. That's why a lot of people are at the, in understanding this Israel / Palestinian conflict. They're just at the Starbucks, whether or not if you're going to, buy that cup of coffee from Starbucks or not. Because if you buy it from Starbucks, that means you're supporting Israel. Or, if you buy it from Target, that means you're supporting this group or that or whatever. You understand what I'm saying? So you got some people who just stay at that top view of this conflict. However, if you've been following us on this platform, you know that it's a lot deeper than that. Very, 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 very deep, very deep. And, to the point where the thing that brings both of these two sides together, not just in the United States government, but in governments all over the world, is something that people all over the world will even worship. So your spirituality is tied to the thing that ties these two groups together. And what is the spirituality of most people all across the world? It's Israel. Israel has something to do with both sides of it. Many of these wars that are happening in the Middle East it comes down to Israel. And there's a lot of, like I said, we can spend all day and all week talking about that. But as it pertains to this individual, I'm just showing this as yet another example, as how Israel has ties to this whole situation here. Okay, so I'm not going to read the whole article. We'll just read part of it, just enough for you to be familiar with what's going on here. Revealed Blackwater founder Erik Prince business ties with Netanyahu's disgraced chief of staff. U.S. businessman at the center of storm. And this article was written 2017, and this is in Haaretz. Okay, between Trump and Putin has ties to Ari Haro and an Israeli financier. So here you have an individual here, Erik Prince. He has ties to Trump and Putin, right? But who Putin is supposedly he set up the character he plays in this movie. He's the enemy of all things. He's anti-West, so to speak. He's anti-Israel, which means he's anti-civilization, so to speak. That's how Putin is set up. Now, trust me, I'm no fan of Putin. I'm not a fan because all of these people are characters in a big movie, a stage play. And so here you have this gentleman here who has ties to Trump, Putin, but also Israel. But I thought Israel and Russia, I thought they were enemies. But here you got this guy. He has ties between both of them because, see, at the end of the day, money talks. Money is at the end of the day, it comes down to that. And it's not just money, because a lot of people get hung up on money. It's the idea behind it. It's the spirituality behind it. It's the agenda behind it. See, a lot of people get hung up on checks and getting that bag. But the people who have it, they're not sitting around and counting their coins in this big old safe, like, like every morning they get up, man, look at all this money I have. You know how you see people on or YouTube, on social media, they just throwing money and all this stuff. See, a lot of the folks that don't have money, they have a poverty mindset and they get hung up with just having the money. But the people who have money, it's just a means. It's a means to push their agenda. And that's all it is. It's a piece on the chessboard. But I'll just read a little bit of this. U.S. businessman Erik Prince, who has just been accused of trying to set up a back channel for communication between the Trump administration and Russia, has deep Israeli connections, as well as including business dealings with Ari Haro, the disgraced former bureau chief to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The founder of the military contracting firm Blackwater is worth a reported $2.4 billion. and is at the center of the ruckus over the U.S. President Donald Trump's relations with Russian President Vladimir Putin. According to U.S. media reports, Prince was behind Trump's indirect channels to Putin through the Persian Gulf states. Last week, Prince, 48, testified before the House Intelligence Committee on meetings that took place in the Emirates in January. He admitted to meeting with the head of a Russian investment fund earlier this year, but claimed it was had nothing to do with Trump or Putin. Now, one thing I will say about Russia too, surprise, surprise, many of the oligarchs, many of the people that got those billionaires in Russia, a good percentage of them are Jewish. Did you know that? Yes, a good percentage of them are Jewish. So if you want to know who really pulls the strings in Russia, it's the oligarchs. These are the people that got all the money. These are Jews. They are. So anyway, let's move on here. Let's see. Here's another one from this article, and they use this because they don't have any other pictures. This one is from 2019. This was in the Jerusalem Post. American billionaire Erik Prince seeks Israeli investments. Let's go to this one. It said Prince, who co-founded Hong Kong-based Frontier Services Group in 2014, will meet with startups and companies in fields including defense technology, intelligence, and food tech. Drone maker Bluebird, Aero Systems off-road vehicle developer Tom Carr, artificial intelligence. He's mentioned on all these, okay? And he says, I love the spirit of the Israeli people who have stepped out and followed their dream of or a nagging idea to build something new. And so anyway, I had another article here too. Let's see. Where is that article? Hold on for a second. Let me see. I had another article that I found, and in that article, I thought this was it. Hold on. Let's go back here. Yeah, there was another article. I'm just looking on my phone right quick here. But there was another article where it talks about him investing in a technology. I'm scrolling right now. Y'all can't see it right now. Hold on. I think I got it here. All right, let me just scroll all the way to the top. Scrolling. Hold on. Israel investments. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Okay, I think this is it. All right, I'll get this. I'll pop it up on the screen. Here we go. Here it comes. Sorry about that, y'all. Here we go. Erik Prince wants to sell you a secure smartphone that is too good to be true. Now, he's also investing in technologies now because, okay, why Israel is important as it pertains to this conversation. Israel, over the years, if you haven't been aware, they have become the new Silicon Valley. A good percentage of the tech companies that are out there today, even ones you haven't even heard of, have a base or headquarters in Israel. We talked about a while back, even with cryptocurrencies. Many of the cryptocurrencies are based out of Israel. So what does that mean? What that means is at the end of the day, that when this new cryptocurrency revolution, when it takes its final form and starts replacing our paper money with actual digital money, what that is saying is that most of our money, if not all of our money, will be controlled and centered in one place and one place only, and that's Israel. Now, they'll have bases all over the place, like in the United States and all that stuff, but ultimately it's controlled by these individuals, these people. And so Erik Prince, he recognizes that, and which is why he went to Israel. He, in that article, was talking about how he was looking for, where I can drop some money and invest, because the whole Blackwater thing, that's good and all that. But let me get out of that. Let me get into the technologies, because this is going to be the new thing. So anyway, long story short, goes to Israel, finds this company that is basically, they're going to be rolling this out. It's a company that basically is putting out a phone that what they're saying is it's provides like a secure smartphone, and it's, it's one that it protects your information and all this other stuff, kind of like WhatsApp was supposed to be, right? Well, we find out later on that WhatsApp had ties to, some of those alphabet companies, alphabet institutions. A lot of these apps that are out here have ties to these alphabet institutions, which again have ties to Israel. Again, these are things we have talked about in the past, and what really troubles me is that a lot of our people, we much rather sit around and talk about the next thing that Cat Williams said, or some of these other comedians are saying. These comedians are old, and folks are still talking, and they're talking about stuff that happened years and years ago. But our people love gossip and mess and not realize these are the real things that are happening right now. And the world is changing right before our eyes. And these are the players that are behind all of this stuff. So we better get to know this stuff. You don't have to become a geopolitical person, but you need to show some interest in these things, because the world keeps moving. And, so anyway, the American billionaire best known for the founding of the notorious private military group firm Blackwater, which became globally famous. Okay, we already know that. Was pushing Unplugged, a smartphone startup promising free speech, privacy, and security, untethered from the dominant tech giants like Apple and Google. In June, Prince publicly revealed that the new phone priced at $850, but before that, beginning in 2021, he was privately hawking the device to investors using a previously unreported pitch deck that has been obtained by MIT Technology Review. It boldly claims that the phone and its operating system are impenetrable to surveillance, interception, and tampering, and its messenger service is marketed as impossible to intercept or decrypt, boasting falsely that that Unplugged has built its first operating system free of big tech monetization and analytics. Prince bragged that the device was protected by government grade encryption. Now stop here for a freaking second. Stop. Stop here. Stop it. Just stop it here for a second. Let's read this again. Boasting falsely that Unplugged has built its first operating system free of big tech monetization and analytics. Prince bragged that the device is protected by government grade encryption. Now, what makes this so hilarious is it's impenetrable. Nobody's going to be able to penetrate it and get to your information. So what is the technology are you going to use, Mr. Prince, to make sure that doesn't happen? Oh, we're using a government grade encryption. So, so you're going to use government technology that's going to assure the user that their information is going to be protected. But people will buy this stuff. Better yet, the pitch added Unplugged is to be hosted on a global array of server farms that can never be taken offline. One option is said to be a server farm on a vessel located in an undisclosed location in international waters, connected via satellite to Elon Musk's Starlink. An Unplugged spokesman explained that they benefit in having servers not subject to any governmental law. Yeah. Okay. So this is the kind of stuff he's getting into. And these are the kind of things that are going to be pushed out to people who are going to be buying into it. People, some of y'all may hear of something or a phone like this. It may not be Unplugged, but it may be a different version of it. People just buy into it and think, oh, it's safe because it uses government technology. Now, as I said before, again, Israel, here we go. Where are those server farms going to be located? I'm glad you asked. The server farms are located in locations such as Israel. And then they mention all these other ones. So here we go. All right. So last thing about Mr. Prince here. This was a someone that did this here. This is an abstract of a paper. It's a lot in there, and they go into deep detail about this individual here. But we'll just read the abstract here. Last month, and this is called Erik Prince and the Chosen People. Last month, news broke that Erik Prince, the co-founder of Blackwater, moved into the cyber sector with two new companies, one focused in secure communication and the other in cyber intelligence. This follows the news last summer when Prince was promoting Unplugged, a smartphone startup promising free speech, privacy, and security, untethered from dominant tech giants like Apple and Google. Technology Review reported that Unplugged's day-to-day technology operations are run by Aaron Karpin, a former employee of Communitate, the Israeli startup that gave rise to the now infamous hacker for hire firm NSO Group. It's meant to say, while this deal and the ones detailed below are perfectly legal, it shows that Prince is shifting his security focus from providing guys with guns to the 21st century cyber age, one where digital surveillance, reconnaissance, hacking, psychological, and influence operations are increasingly the coin of the realm for tactical, operational, and even strategic levels of geopolitics. And give credit to where it's due. For a man who comes from a conservative Christian family and has strong ties to the Christian right, Prince will do business with anyone, from Muslims to atheists, Chinese communists, but the people he turns to time again are Israeli Jews. Folks, listen, again, this is why it's so important. I cannot stress this enough, to familiarize yourself with this kind of stuff that we're talking about here. I know it's not exciting because you don't have people arguing, two black folks tearing each other down. And I'm not insulting those who come here and don't and aren't with that, because I do know we have a listening audience of people who ain't with that kind of stuff. But you also got to understand that a good percentage of our people, this kind of stuff, it turns them off. It's boring. But how does this tie to the story that I just presented to you initially as far as Africa is concerned? Well, it ties in many ways, because while Israel, this agent of Israel, is going around and pushing recolonization, what's also happening too is that Israel is also working behind the scenes, and have been for a very long time, and adding their own structures to they're meeting with these countries on an individual basis. They met very recently with the president of Congo. They're cutting deals on the side that a lot of times they don't get a lot of news press, but it is happening. And I do have some information too of them doing that, of some of these meetings and stuff that happens with some of these leaders. And but some of it is on the news, some of it, you just got to know someone that knows somebody. But this stuff is happening all the time. And so what Erik Prince is talking about, it goes a lot deeper, than what we really think. And unless we're willing to deal with the man behind the curtain, we're going to forever be stuck on Twitter complaining and fighting one another and going around in circles, not realizing who the real enemies are. And so that's why I really would encourage you to take the time and familiarize yourself with some of these players, what's going on right now in, with the coming elections. It's funny and sad to see that many of our people are once again, after all of this stuff, that has happened, with under Jim Crow Joe, this man is a feeble-minded man. He can't even remember. He's got to have his wife come on the stage to help him to get off, to show him where to get off. And even with that, you got dusty, ashy Negroes that are still out here fighting for him and saying that this is the man that we're supposed to support because he did this and he did that. The one thing that Putin did say in his interview, and he said, the United States, you think the United States is ran by this man? You're fooling yourself. And I would say the same thing if Trump gets in office. But what is the common thread between these individuals that I just mentioned? Trump, Biden, and Prince. It's Israel. And so if you don't figure that out, and a lot of our people, and this ties even to the whole Hebrew thing, that we've been talking about on this platform, a lot of our people are so stuck on worshiping these people, they will never get it, and they will forever stay in a loop of ignorance because they're stuck on worshiping these people, worshiping their holy books, worshiping their language. They're stuck on that. And as long as they stay stuck on that, they will always remain in the peripheral when it comes to really discerning and analyzing stories like this. And, and so they won't have anything. That's why when you listen to some of these people and they try to do a breakdown like we try to do here, they can't even explain any of this stuff without most of it being filled with a bunch of scriptures. Everything they're saying is all scriptures. But when you start going in the backgrounds of these, they can't do that. So I would, so again, hopefully you got something out of this video. It is quite unfortunate, but like I said again, and I'll say it again, yeah, it's you got some Africans out here, throughout the continent who are okay with colonialism. And please don't fill our comment section with, well, these are bots and they may not be real people. No, the truth is you do have people out here who are okay with it. That's the absolute truth. So we're not going to allow anything. We're not going to allow ourselves to kind of slip and slide around this stuff. The truth of the matter is colonialism has so brainwashed many of our people. Not all Africans think this way. Okay. I'm being very clear with that. But you do have many who would actually be okay with that. In fact, they're okay with it now. You got Chinese colonialism that's happening right now. I've dealt with people on the continent and I've mentioned, I said, man, you guys are cool with this? With the Chinese and what they're really trying to do and all this stuff. And they get mad at me. What you talking about? Won't you worry about what's going on over there? As long as we get in our schools and all that. Again, that's not all Africans, but there are many who are okay with it because they're fed up with what they're dealing with as far as what, the governments that they have over there. But it's not just Africans. This is all over the diaspora. It's the same thing. All over the diaspora, you have many of our people who would prefer to be under slavery because at least you get your 3 squares a day and you have a job. And that's sad, but it's very true. So folks, I'll just leave you with this. It's time to wake up because we're quickly getting to the point where you ain't going to be able to wake up. It's going to be too late. Time to wake up. I hope you got something out of this. You guys take care, and I'll see you again soon.